Well, one of the things that our team wanted to do at Disability in the Church 2025 is to, sort of avoid as much as possible lectures and help you to engage in conversations. And so to kick off the conference, one of the things that we had wanted to do was to have a conversation with some folks who are doing phenomenal work and talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on that are going really well in the field of disability ministry. So that we are honored to have with us today Chista Smith. Chista serves as a disability ministry manager at the Tim Tebow Foundation, where you lead up the Shine On initiative. And we are very appreciative of the Tebow Foundation serving as our title sponsors this year. Next up, we have Kim Botto. Kim is a very well-known figure in the world of children's ministry. She is the president of the International Network of Children's Ministry, had served as the longtime director of children's ministry at Crossroads in Cincinnati, which is the largest church in our home state. And she is the author of a book called Boundless Hope, which is the best thing I have ever read or come across in terms of helping people in churches to understand kids from hard places who communicate through their behavior. So I would very much encourage all of you to pick up a copy of that and check it out before you leave here. Next up, we have Barb Stanley. Barb is the founder of Wonderful Works Ministry. For the record, let me note that she is also a fellow Ohioan. And I would also like to communicate that God created Ohio State to show those of us in our part of the country that he loves us too. And that Wonderful Works is partnering with the Church of the Nazarene on developing resources to advance the cause of disability ministry throughout their entire denomination. Next up, we have Sandra Peoples. Sandra is a former staff member and current board member with our key ministry team. She's a very busy lady. Teaches at Liberty. She's the author of Unexpected Blessings, which is the best book that I've ever read from a theologic standpoint for parents raising kids with disabilities to try to understand God's purposes in that. She is a PhD student at Southwest Seminary in Fort Worth, Texas, teaching at Liberty, and the author of the soon-to-be-released Accessible Church, a gospel-centered vision for including people with disabilities and their families. And then last, but certainly not least, a man who needs no introduction. Lamar Hardwick is better known to many of you as the autism pastor. He's the author of Disability in the Church, which I think is the most important book that's been written in our field in the last 10 to 20 years. More recently authored How Ableism Fuels Racism, and is the co-host of the Hard Lead podcast, which is becoming very popular in the disability community. And I know that many of us have been praying for Lamar to be here, and so, your presence with us this week is answered prayer, and we're honored to have you. And so maybe we can start out then with like Lamar, and you're playing an invaluable role in advancing the cause of disability ministry in churches that maybe haven't historically been part of our movement but need to be part of our movement. What are some of the things that you're observing or the trends in ministry that are most encouraging to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me first say thank you for your prayers. I tell people it's good to be seen and not viewed, so I'm glad to be here. One of the things that has been very encouraging to me, I think I started coming around key ministry and other conferences around 2017. And one of the things that has become very encouraging to me well, a couple of things, is the increased diversity that I'm seeing at these conferences, racially, ethnically, but also an increase in attendance of people with disabilities, but also an increase in speakers and leaders with disabilities at these conferences. So I am thrilled. We still have lots of work to do, but I'm thrilled to see that there are more people here who are representing historically black churches, which is what I've been doing a lot of work with in the last couple of years, because that has been one of the areas that we want to, as Sandra said, take the message to. Not that they're not doing a lot of the things that we come here to be trained to do, but inviting them into this space and saying, we need you just as much to help this mission of belonging and inclusion. So those are the things that I'm excited about.
So Sandra, you've been very busy since moving on, from your staff role with Key Ministry. You are, an educator at Liberty University. You're a student at Southwest Seminary. What encourages you the most about the future of disability ministry from your experience in Christian higher education? And what can we do as a movement to advance disability ministry through those institutions?
That's a great question. I think progress is really being made in two ways. There's more opportunities for people to get degrees in disability ministry. So at Liberty, that can be a minor, that can be a cognate that you're a part of, and that's for online and in-person classes. And we hope that that continues to increase, that we'll have opportunities at the master's level or a certificate in disability ministry. And there's other schools that have that as well. And so if you want that concentration in disability ministry, that is continuing to grow, but also making sure that we don't silo disability ministry, and that everybody who has a calling to ministry, whether that's children's ministry or next gen ministry or family ministry, more classes being taught specifically in disability ministry so they better understand how to do inclusion, so that our future children's ministers and family ministry leaders and next gen ministry leaders will have a class in disability ministry and inclusion and accessibility, because we know that the statistics say that up to 20% of the kids in our ministries could have disabilities, and so we need to be prepared as ministry leaders to support them and serve them. So I'm encouraged on both fronts. One, that we're going to have more degree opportunities in disability ministry, but also anybody seeking a degree in ministry will hopefully be better equipped to serve kids with disabilities.
That is awesome. And on to Barb. And I have a survey question for the audience. Barb, working together with the Nazarene denomination, got one of the Lilly grants recently, to be able to advance the work that you're doing in terms of denomination-wide inclusion. How many of you had at least a little bit of healthy, if not unhealthy, envy when you heard about the grant that Barb and her denomination got? Yeah, I was thinking we could use that. But can you talk a little bit about, when Wonderful Works, and again, the Church of Nazarene received that grant to grow disability ministry. What advances do you anticipate as a result of getting the grant? And what advice would you have specifically for leaders here who are looking to grow and expand disability ministry within their denominations? And how can they best do that and advance the movement in the denominations where God has placed them?
Yeah, so my first piece of advice, if you're looking on how to partner with your own denomination, is to come to our workshop at 5 o'clock where we're talking about partnering with your denomination, because we're going to dive deep into how to really approach that and how to sustain that. But in short, the most important things you need to do if you want to partner, if you're a local church, disability ministry, or a parachurch organization that wants to have a further reach, you really should reach up to your denomination and use a lot of prayer and a lot of preparation before you go into those meetings. Because Wonderful Works Ministry is actually non-denominational ministry, but I personally am Nazarene. And when we came together, we were able to use the skills that we have, what we were already doing, with the reach that the denomination has, and then build from strength off of the both of us to really do a game changer. So what I have found with getting the grant, and just let me say, we were going to be partnering with our denomination before we got the grant. The grant was just the icing on the cake. That was just God being really nice to us. But you don't have to have a grant to partner with your denomination. But it has changed everything, because we would never have been able to get our work out the way we have to as many people around the world without someone who already had that audience. And the Church of Nazarene wasn't really in a position to get the resources that we make out, because they didn't have anyone on staff that made them. So that's really where the change is. And just for us, with the grant, we were able to partner and do something called the Adapted Discipleship Library, which has training videos, adapted children's Bible story videos, customizable special education classroom tools, and social narratives. And because of the grant, it is free for everyone. So that's where we see it's going to be a game changer for smaller churches that don't have any budget.
That's awesome. And so how can people get access to those free resources?
So you can go to our website at wonderfulworksministry.org and go to the Adapted Discipleship Library tab, and it will take you there, or you can go to library.wonderfulworksministry.org and you can go straight into it. And also, I got to give a plug. 2 weeks ago, we launched a brand new YouTube channel for kids. So we now have free adapted children's Bible stories that are about 5 minutes long. They're made with techniques that help students learn who have intellectual and developmental disabilities, and they come in 6 versions. Because of our partnership with the Church of Nazarene, we were able to go from having an original version, an American Sign Language version, a video description version, and now the Church of Nazarene is starting to translate our Bible stories into other languages. So please subscribe at WW Bible Stories. Can you tell I used to be in advertising? But please subscribe, and everything's free.
So Kim, what are some of the trends that you're seeing in the children's ministry community regarding disability inclusion, especially with regard to kids with hidden disabilities?
Krista, I'll try not to cut off your circulation. I think one thing, I look at the way I used to interact with kids who had differences and disabilities, and I was trying to fix them. I was trying to eliminate what I viewed as the problematic behavior. And what I am seeing is more people serving in the children's ministry are understanding that these behaviors are communicating to us. And we need to listen to what they're saying through their behavior. And it's our responsibility, and it's an honor as the adults serving them to create environments where they feel safe, where they feel comfortable, and when they can hear about Jesus, because they're not going to get it other places. Other trends that I'm seeing are an interest in trauma-informed care in the children's ministry. And you know, it used to be that you had trauma-informed care over here, and then you had disability ministry over here. But really, as an adoptive mom, I learned out of necessity a whole bunch about trauma-informed care. And the basis of trauma-informed care is relationship, connection, and curiosity. And when we're curious, we can't be judgmental. You know, if we see a behavior we don't understand, and if we're asking questions like, I wonder what they need. I wonder if it's too loud, which, pro tip, louder, brighter, bigger, more is not appealing to every child or student. Let's turn it down. Let's lower the lights. But when we start being curious, then we can actually see what that child needs so they can stay in our environments. I'm also, the last thing, is I'm seeing that for a long time, I feel like disability ministry was an add-on. I kind of look at it as a car. You build the car, it's the regular, typical ministry. You build it, it's all great, and then you slap on the top carrier. And that's the disability ministry. Or in some churches, it's not even attached to the car, it's like the U-Haul behind it. Or for some other churches, it's the bike rack attached to the U-Haul. And what I'm seeing now is more churches are saying, how can we create an environment, a space, a teaching where everybody can get it? And we don't have to do add-ons, because all children benefit from the things that benefit kids with learning disabilities or differences.
And then you don't get off so easy. You've got 2 questions.
I would have been shorter for the
How
first
can our community most impactfully support the children's ministry community in your efforts to promote inclusion in the next few years?
I think one of the most important things in kids ministry is to have buddies. There are kids that simply need extra help in order to fully participate. And you might be sitting here and going, I'm not a kids person. Well, do you love Jesus? Do you? Do you want more people to know about Jesus? Some kids need, you don't have to be a kids person to sit there and draw out the story with them on a dry erase board, because they happen to love dry erase boards, or to line up Matchbox cars to help them feel comfortable as they're hearing the story. So I think a way to advocate is to share stories, send meals and tacos to your kids ministry people, because that's a hard, that's a hard role. I mean, because you can show love through food, but help raise awareness in the community so other people who might think that they're not a kids people will get involved. And I would say too, it's not just the responsibility of the children's ministry, it's the responsibility of the whole church, and their needs don't end in 5th or 6th grade. And a lot of kids, they get into 5th or 6th grade, and all of a sudden they're like, where do I go? So I would say it's advocating for children's ministry, but then also helping, it must go beyond 5th or 6th grade.
Preach it. So Chista, Night to Shine may be the most impactful initiative for increasing awareness of disability ministry. That night of the year, I know, city after city across the country, there's lots of media attention, people take notice. And Shine On represents a wonderful opportunity for resourcing churches for ministry. So can you talk a little bit about what's ahead for Shine On, and how can the different organizations represented here support you and your team in your work?
Yeah, so it was really important to Tim, and he understood a long time ago that the church was the answer. And so every Night to Shine has to be hosted at a church, or the churches at least need to host it, even if they rent a different facility. He knows that that's the answer for belonging and cultivating relationships. And so when Night to Shine began to happen, pastors began to contact the foundation and go, this is great, we love this. How do we love on these families all year long? And so we began to pray about what that looked like and developing resources to be able to better equip churches to love on individuals with disabilities all year, to shine on all year. And so Night to Shine becomes the celebration of that shining on all year. And so we really are a brand new ministry of the Tim Tebow Foundation. It's been in development. We just released a new website last year, but we are an online digital resource to equip churches who are beginning disability ministry, because we know how overwhelming that can be. Just doing the research online, trying to figure out where to go, what to do, who to contact. And so our goal is to be an online digital resource library. And we partner with other disability organizations. The Tim Tebow Foundation, we partner with those that are doing the work, the boots on the ground, and we help to come alongside them and support through financial means, through other means, in order to help them build their ministries to build better impact. And so that's what we do. Our hope is to be kind of the inroads to disability ministry and to support in training, encouragement, Bible studies along those lines.
Well, we very much appreciate your support and are honored by the opportunity to come alongside you guys, in the important work that you're doing. I got sort of like a few rapid fire kind of questions for the panel. So these are like short answer kinds of things that are on the forefront of people's minds. What do you think is the most promising opportunity for disability ministry movement in the next 5 years? And I'll let you start, Kristen. We'll just go straight down the row.
I think we have to embrace technology. I mean, we really have to embrace technology in our churches. We have such a great opportunity to use technology not only to reach those that are homebound, but also to allow a place of service for our individuals with disabilities. A lot of them are very talented and gifted in the areas of technologies. They don't have to just be standing at the doors greeting and handing out bulletins on Sunday morning. Employ them in technology. Put them behind a camera. Put them in your sound booth. Let them create social media. Let them run the Facebook Live. My son runs our Facebook Live at our church and loves it. He runs a camera at our church. That's his bent. That's where he grew up in, and he loves that. We've got to utilize all areas across the board in technology to be able to give our individuals with disabilities a place of service.
I think the church has the opportunity to be the example of how we interact with kids with differences and their families. How cool would it be if the baseball coach is calling us saying, I got Johnny on my team and I hear he does really great at your church. Like, what do you do? And so I think that is an opportunity, and one of the ways we can do that is support the families. I was so moved by Lara's story, and I knew what she was going to say ahead of time. And families like Lara need the church to come around them and see their children as fearfully, wonderfully made, images of Christ, loved, chosen. So I think the church being an example in that.
Barb.
I think the most encouraging thing about the disability ministry mission in the future is that now that we're changing the message from create a disability ministry program to adopt universal design in your church from the beginning, every place, we are not only seeing it better in larger churches and middle-sized churches, but now small churches feel like they can be part of this too. And I think we're going to see disability ministry become an expected part of every church, because with this new messaging, every church is going to feel like we can do it too. So I am super excited.
I grew up with a sister with Down syndrome, and so I've been in the disability world my whole life. And I have a son with autism, and so every church that we've been a part of has had to be an accessible, inclusive church. And I think the shift that I am most excited about is it has shifted from a babysitting model, where we're just going to put the kids with disabilities in a room and maybe now hand them an iPad and that's going to count, to a discipleship model. And I think you're going to see that in our vendors who are here, who are producing amazing discipleship resources. So it's not just about, we're going to have this childcare room that goes to an extended age so that the family can be discipled. It is every member of the family being discipled. And that is really encouraging to me. Curriculum designers like Lifeway, creating new curriculum for people with disabilities, the ones that we have here creating curriculum. And so the movement toward discipleship is what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. I'm excited about the move to embrace diversity, but also embrace understanding the differences that different families come into our churches with, and using those opportunities to further disciple them. But then also, I'm excited about, and I was saying this to Sandra, like, I'm excited that there's so many young people at this conference. Like, I feel like one of the OGs of this movement. And so I'm constantly looking like, who's going to carry the baton? And so it's very exciting to see lots of young people here, people under 30, people under 40, and then also students who are going to school to get degrees, where we had to kind of like learn that stuff on our own and teach each other. Now you can actually go and get a minor in it. Like, how cool is that? And so we're sending out leaders who are far more prepared than we were when we came into this. And I'm just excited to see so many young people who are interested in carrying this message and this movement.
That's awesome. One last quick question, very quick question for each member of the group. What's your most surprising prediction for disability ministry in the next 5 years? And I'll let you start, Lamar.
I think we are starting to see the impact of COVID and long COVID, and people having new limitations and challenges that they didn't have before, but also, how do I say this without getting political? With the changes that we anticipate that are happening with a lot of services, and I think a lot of people are going to run to the church because they've been going everywhere. A lot of people have been going everywhere but the church to get support. As some of those things go away or change, they're going to need us. And so I think we have to really step up our game. And I'm excited about that opportunity, but it is going to be a challenge for us.
Sandra?
Yeah, I think I'm most excited, like Lamar said, about the younger people. I am tired. Lamar is tired. We are so happy to be here, but to see the energy, as we were sitting back there, the energy happening in this back corner is gonna like fuel us for the rest of the week, right? Because this movement just continues to grow and grow and get younger and younger, and that is energizing to all of us, and it's just such an exciting opportunity for the future, and the future is happening right here today, and we get to pass down our wisdom and take more naps. That's my plan.
I think what people aren't expecting to see from disability ministry, but what you will see is the ripple effect of this new universal design where it's not just children's ministry anymore, it's in every ministry, and the ripple effect of that is you're going to see more people with disabilities become church leaders. They're not just going to be disability ministry leaders. They're going to be up on your worship leader. They're going to be the youth group leader. But because when we change our mindset to this is for everyone everywhere, then you're letting people have a chance to use the gifts that God gave them. So I just think it's going to be phenomenal.
Tagging on what you said, Barb, I think as far as universal design, I think we're going to hear less talk about, this is my hope, less talk about disability ministry because it is just baked into everything we do. As we create events, we're thinking about kids who have sensory issues. We're thinking about adults who don't use their words to speak. And it'll just be ingrained, baked into everything we do.
I think mine's twofold. I think it's partly challenging, but partly promising. I mean, across the board, the challenges that you have are families like mine, families like Sandra's, families like Lara's, that are impacted by disability. And we began to stand at a crossroads of bitter and better. And I knew Jesus, but I also knew Jesus could have healed my child, and he did not. And I was standing at this very tender crossroads of bitter and better. And had it not been for my church, they didn't know what to do. But man, they made some amazing banana pudding and dropped it off at our door and prayed over us and loved on us. And they gradually led me towards better. They helped me to cling to Jesus and love Jesus and see that he was in this and he had not abandoned me. So that is a challenge. But I also think that in this movement that we are a part of, the promising thing is you can't just see the individual, you have to serve the whole family. Because like myself, like my husband, because of that church loving on us and caring for us, he called us into ministry, which now impacts others. And so churches, pastors, love on these families as a whole unit. See that God's got a plan and a purpose for their life. 2 Corinthians 1. He comforts them so that they can in turn comfort and love on others with the comfort they themselves have received.
Well, guys, that was wonderful. I'm honored that we get to do this alongside each of you. And I would hope folks in the audience, could you show your appreciation for these guys?